has become overly important because developments around the world and within our country over the last few months have been quite edifying and further underscore the need for urgent implementation of valuable strategic measures that will lead to total compliance with all directives on combating the deadly virus by all stakeholders in the transport sector. As you are aware, the federal government and state governments have employed a series of strategies and measures to combat the stress of COVID-19. These measures include stay-at-home policies for workers in non-essential sector, lockdown policies, social distancing, closure of worship places, educational institutions, and markets. These stated actions of the various governments have restricted movements and reduced significantly the need for daily shuttles, inter- and interstate travels. The fundamental role of transportation in the social economic development of any nation cannot be overemphasized. In Nigeria today, more than 99% of transportation of goods and services depends largely on road transport sectors, and it represents not only the single largest mode of transport for people and goods, but also serves as one of the highest employers of labor responsible for both direct and indirect employment of millions of people, ranging from bus park workers, haulage staff, drivers, conductors, food vendors. As such, the relevance of road transportation as a mechanism for economic recovery is therefore of even greater. It is most relevant to recognize that the devastating effect of COVID-19 lockdown measures on the economy is patently obvious and has been particularly hard on the public transport operators and their workers, as they experience a total grounding of their operations. There is no gain re-echoing the blazing fact that these operators have not earned any revenue within the period the restriction lasted, and that affected their capacity to serve loan obligations and cater for the salaries and welfare of their personnel, leading to mass sack of workers. Let me state here that mobility is a cardinal factor responsible to the pandemic, not just in the area of total eradication of the surge, but also in revamping the economic activities of the nation and ensure that the citizens are shielded from its immediate and long-term impacts.
There will be a training because there must be a focal person in each motor park that will ensure that all these rules are observed. And again, we have also directed all our state councils to constitute a team to ensure that our members, including the passengers, observe these rules, since it has to do with lives. And also, I would also request, because we know sometimes the Nigerian factor should come into place. Members of all the transport unions should also be carried along, as we have always been doing, because if you are not part of probably a task force or so to say, there is need for abuse. There may be a need abuse to that effect. So there's need for us to be part of any task team, to be constituted either by road safety or by the presidential task force.
Since last week we commenced operations, we had also complied with federal government directive on the capacity of our vehicles vis-a-vis our coach and the small buses to 50% capacity. Every morning before our vehicle goes to the road, we ensure that we have pep talk, safety pep talk, because we already have established safety department in our organization. We have pep talk to our drivers and passengers before, during, and after on the essence of the health procedures. In order to ensure that passengers find it happy traveling with their loads, we have made available daily trucking, so that for those passengers that may want to travel with their loads, we ensure that trucks move side by side with those buses and ensure that they get their loads that same day, so that those vehicles will not be overloaded. In order to achieve all this, we ensure that we have scheduled departure of our operations. We have reviewed our movement again and ensure that our operation commences by 6 a.m. so that passengers can also arrive early. And then for our drivers' accommodation, where we have accommodation for our drivers and other operators, we have commenced fumigation of their guest houses. And we ensure that we continue to take place every other week so that the place will be safe for habitation.
Is it the responsibility of the transport union and the operators to disinfect the terminals and the lodging passengers, or the local government council that are responsible for the management and the establishment of the motor parks in the nation? Secondly, I have also seen another issue, which is the 50% of the passengers in all the commercial vehicles. I heard also of the operators of airline recently that the Honorable Minister has approved them an increase of the fare with 100%. Is there anything similar to this that is extended to the mass road transport, or there is nothing like that? Then also, the compulsory use of face mask by passengers and drivers, I think the face mask of the passengers should be provided by the passengers, not by the transport unions or the transport operators. So I think there is need for us to clearly specify here. Then also there are other areas that I think is going to be a joint responsibility. That is the guideline for the observing of distance, the social distance. I think it's going to be a joint responsibility from the union, the government, and even the passengers of the vehicles.
The motor parks, in the vehicles, and the distancing also in the vehicles. And we are ready and prepared to, inshallah, abide by the procedures. What we intend to do, as you have said, we shall intimate our state chairman immediately to liaise with your state counterparts with a view to ensure full compliance.
The most important thing is that precaution on the safety of the passenger, the commuters, and those who are operating at the park, both on the road. Their safety is very, very important.